Short-term rentals, VRBOs, Airbnbs, whatever it is you call them, they're becoming more popular than ever. I am taking so many phone calls from longtime investors and first-time investors alike who want to buy rental properties to Airbnb them. Did you notice that I just used Airbnb as a verb? Yeah, that's how popular it's becoming. And I have multiple clients who just crush it with short-term rentals here in Wilmington. But there are some things to consider when applying for financing. Unlike a traditional investment property, short-term rentals are just that. You book it out for a few days to a few weeks at a time, and different tenants keep coming and going, so you don't have a long-term lease in place. When qualifying for a new mortgage, we're going to have to assume that it's going to be a long-term rental. So if we need to use that rental income to offset the mortgage payment and qualify the client, we're actually going to base that number off of a long-term rental. So the appraiser is going to determine what the fair market rent would be for somebody who signed a 1-year lease. Which makes sense because although yes, a short-term rental is going to probably gross more revenue than a long-term, you also have a lot more costs associated with these short-term rentals. You have to have it cleaned, organized, beds made up, sheets washed. That costs money. Booking fees through the websites cost money. Another thing to consider is that it may be difficult to accumulate multiple short-term rentals in a short period of time. The reason being is that if we don't have that rental property reporting on the most recently filed tax return, then we typically rely on a lease to determine how much of the mortgage payment we can offset to qualify for the new loan. Well, a short-term rental or an Airbnb is not going to have a lease in place because you're churning different tenants on a weekly basis. Therefore, we have no real way of using that income to offset the mortgage on that house. And we're not going to know how to properly assess the income of that property until a tax return is filed next year. And that's not to discourage anybody from trying to buy an Airbnb or applying for mortgage financing. My point is it's just a little different. There's some additional quirks and challenges versus investing in traditional long-term rentals. If anybody has any questions about financing rental properties, reach out. I have lots of clients who are just absolutely crushing it, and I'd love to help you if I could.